Welcome back. This is part 2 of Fall in Love with Cacao with my friend Maria Alejandra Forero. She is a transdisciplinary artist and researcher on cacao and women's health. What a cool description. I talked a little bit about the Jangala project. I highly suggest that you check out their website. You can order, they ship globally. They were established in 2017 with the mission of preserving the soul of Mexican chocolate. They work with varieties of fermented cacao. We talked a lot about the reason you need to have fermented cacao in the first episode. And this second part in the series, we dive deep into how the cacao plant is really the queen of plants in terms of helping women support themselves during the luteal phase of their cycle, just how important it is for both men and women, the health benefits that can arise or you can obtain from consuming this super food. So let's get into it. Welcome back to the podcast. We are doing a mini series to help you fall in love with the magic of cacao. Something that I have been really diving more and more into, largely because I live in a part of the world that produces it, and it's quite easy to get extremely high quality cacao here. It's not necessarily the case everywhere, but once you know what you're looking for, I guarantee you can find some in your community. And today we're going to talk again with Ali Forero of Jalanga. She is extremely passionate and well-versed as a fourth generation producer of cacao. And we're really going to dive into the health benefits, specifically for women, and hormone balance. So, yeah, I mean, I can just say, again, with my own experience, I've just noticed to me, it's like this beautiful, soft mood boost. But I know that there's multiple more layers that I know Ali's going to tell us about. So, Ali, welcome back.
Hello, Megan. Thank you for having me again.
I would love if you could tell us, like maybe just sort of the first level is what would you tell consumers or clients coming into the shop to buy some cacao powder or cacao nibs or, your high quality chocolate? What are the benefits beyond it just being delicious, high quality chocolate?
Okay, so I would start sharing the general benefits that it has for both male and female bodies. All its antioxidant properties, anti-inflammatory properties. It also helps to prevent cognitive decline. It is very rich in polyphenols, in flavonoids, in theobromine, phenylalanine, which are these complex compounds, as well as magnesium, iron. That's why it is called a superfood, because it has all this complexity in its compounds in only one seed. I remember this quote said by Alexander Humboldt, a naturalist, and he said something like, never ever in nature is being put such richness, nutritional richness, in one small space, such as in a cacao bean. So it has all these essential nutrients that are very important for the health of our heart, brain, nervous system, immune system. And this is just a ways to mention how good it does for our bodies, because actually all these systems are interconnected together. The endocrine system with the immune system, they're all interconnected. So this is what I would say for in general, but I also would highlight the fact that cacao has a very important impact in women's health, because our bodies, our hormones have, and our hormones different stages. And I'm gonna specifically talk about fertile women in Mexico. It is considered from 15 to 49 years old, this window of fertility.
Mm-hmm.
So we have different nutritional needs from men, and it's being historically, we are not very much aware of. It is something that's quite new as well for myself, to start researching on how I could take care of my health, taking into account this dance of my hormones along the menstrual cycle. And there is one part in the menstrual cycle in which cacao is just this queen, this plant queen, that is a luteal phase. During the luteal phase, that has very bad reputation. It has very bad reputation in a male-driven modern medicine. This is where also my research on, yeah. So during the luteal phase, our hormones and the way our body does it, so it tends to lower the level of serotonin, which is some people call it like the hormone of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is lower during the luteal phase naturally, as well as the cortisol tends to increase, which is the stress hormone. It also decreases the amount of iron and magnesium during this phase. So it's very interesting, because what cacao does is to actually help to lower the cortisol levels, reducing the systemic stress, as well as helping with the serotonin production, as well as with the magnesium. It also helps to relax all these muscles, like the uterine muscles. So that's why it has this hormone, or this balance effect in the body. This is just to mention, and just like touching in really big topics, like each of these things I mentioned is I could speak more on them, but also I want to share as well from another perspective that cacao is also the plant of fertility. And fertility, we discovering as well with new researchers, female researchers, such as Lara Briden. She talks a lot about the importance of ovulation for overall health, for the health of our bones, to prevent deterioration of the brain, nervous system, cognitive function, also a lot related to the immune system. So fertility and ovulation is super important for women, for our overall health. And cacao, and I want to bring it up from this point of view of this goddess, which is Ish Cacao, which is the goddess of fertility. Cacao is such a fertile plant, is so lush and so generous. So it's also this plant queen of fertility for us, to help us for our hormones to be in balance. So we make sure we ovulate every month. Cacao as well in the cosmovision, in Mexican cosmovision or Mesoamerican cosmovision, is known as the polarity of the feminine. So in the Mesoamerican cosmovision, we have this yin and yang, which is the corn, the male, that is pointing upwards, that has the seeds outside, that is dry, that is virile. And we have this other polarity, which is cacao, that grows towards the earth, that has the seeds inside, that is wet inside, and is pollinized during the night. So it's this feminine polarity. So it's not surprising all the benefits it has for our health. It's like this wisdom of nature. And that's why, as I said before, I feel it's like this queen plant for women's health.
Okay, let me summarize a few things. So you shared so much. So luteal phase is what the patriarchy calls PMS, yes?
Yes.
And I mean, I drink cacao sort of instead of coffee the majority of the time because I've over time just noticed. But now that you're saying that, I really notice that coffee hits me poorly during the luteal phase of my cycle. Like it just seems so much more acid and just like, no, that's not what I'm craving. And so I only drink cacao. So I love that added layer now of wisdom that I have, and it makes so much sense. The other thing that you touched on that I think is so important is the research that's, shockingly new. I just learned last week, in fact, that it's only been since August of 2023, like 6 months ago, that they actually started testing feminine products with actual blood. Whether they're using menstrual blood, who knows? But this idea that blood is the same as like water that's been dyed blue or whatever it is that they were using to test it is just, the tip of the iceberg of how male dominated medical studies have been, since the beginning of time, basically, or, since the beginning of modern medicine. So I love that you call that out, and also talk about, because I come from a generation, and I know there's lots of women like me and that sort of live in mainstream gynecology, if you will. Like I took birth control because my female gynecologist told me I could take tricycline 21 without stopping. I did that for like 15 years and didn't have a period. And I feel like there's now, I think there always was in sort of witchy hippie communities this knowledge that no, we're connected to the moon. There's a beauty, there's a ritual, there's a health benefit from being in tune to this system and supporting it, opposed to hating it and trying to avoid it. And so I love that you called out that there's this new research that's really talking about the health benefits to all women. We're not talking about women trying to get pregnant per se, just the health benefit of a woman throughout her evolution over time, phases of her life, the necessity of ovulating optimally for your overall health, having nothing to do like whether or not you wish to be a mother or trying to get pregnant at that moment in time. So I love that you talked about that. And yeah, just lastly, how I don't think I never heard that exact. I mean, I'm aware that it's considered like the feminine to the male coffee in terms of like the way that it gives you energy, like that's the coffee is sort of like the jolt, hustle, take action, like kind of energy. And the cacao is like a softer, more consistent, not jolted and longer lasting energy. And that's how I felt it in my experience consuming the two. But I hadn't heard the Mexican, sorry, the corn and the cacao. That just speaks so much more volume to this, the comparison, the balance. So I don't know. I'm sure there's something else you wanted to say now that I've yammered on.
Thank you so much for your words, because you made me realize about something I never thought. Thank you for sharing about this experience with birth control. I personally don't have it myself. I have friends and people around me who have passed through birth control and making questions about how to get off, because it messed up with the hormones as well as with emotions, yeah. So I was thinking as you were talking of what's happening with women who right now, out of this research that is so new, what happened with these women leaving birth control. Yeah, to get back to a baseline or natural hormonal wisdom of the body, how cacao could help to create this, to do this rebalancing effect. I mean, it's like, this is new for me. It's just a question that's arising, and I have like this researcher mind that I would like to see how it could help for this transition. You know?
Yeah, I like, definitely keep me posted on that research. I think you're onto something. Like, in my experience, it took my body 2 years to the point where I had an appointment scheduled with an infertility specialist. I thought I had an issue with fertility, but it was really just my body took 2 years to get back into some sort of equilibrium because I'd been consuming these synthetic hormones for so long that it took that long for my body to be like in its natural optimal fertility state. And I wish back then, that was, 12 plus years ago now, when I first started living in Chiapas, I wish I would have known about cacao, like I've always loved chocolate and hot chocolate and all these things, but I really didn't have that wisdom of the importance of quality, the importance of how it's produced, the importance of the type of, additives that tend to be in mainstream products. And, I was early on my holistic wellness journey back then. But yeah, I think that just in general, like I just think women should try it. Like everything, I do believe that not everything is for everybody. But I really encourage you just to try it for a week or two, and as sort of an exchange for what you would consume as coffee, like as your sort of ritual. Can you speak to that as well? Like the benefits for women having a relationship, if you will, with cacao and how they drink it, maybe, or eat it.
I feel cacao is this plant of the cyclic wisdom of nature, in which we are invited to let ourselves rest, allow ourselves to rise, and have this cycle happening in a way in which we can embrace it in a male-dominated world. So I feel to have this relationship with cacao, which is also delicious, and like have like not only the benefits, but just to sit with a warm cup of delicious fermented cacao, smelling it, going into the senses, for me is a very embodied experience to sit with a chocolate, a warm chocolate, smell it, connect with nature in its aroma, connect with its origin, in its aroma. Drinking it is part of a ritual for me to start the day in this way, or perhaps in a moment of confusion, or it helps me. It makes me feel supported to drink cacao in this way that is with a lot of intention, and creating that space of wellness for myself, no matter how the day went or how much work I have, just to make space in my schedule to sit with a cup of cacao. For me, it's been life-changing, and I highly resonate what you said, Megan, of it's not like making generalizations or to make it universal that it must be this way, but for me it's being this way, and I highly invite women to try to experiment as well, to have this relationship with this plant. Sometimes I like to sing with it and to put a prayer in it, as well as I believe the plant of receptivity, as I say before, and is this force of nature that embraces like a mother. So it's to have this moment of self-care, self-love. It's also very sensual, this plant, and to connect with the sensuality of my body and to be alive and the beauty of being alive. something like this is what my relationship with cacao is like.
Oh my goodness, I love everything you're saying. So in essence, like an intentional, mindful moment, and you can bring in as many layers as you want. Can you speak just before we wrap up this little chapter on benefits, the intentionality that Jalanga has brought in of incorporating different ingredients like cardamom, lavender, these other like really beautiful ingredients that I'm guessing there's, creates its own unique harmony in the way that you're consuming cacao.
Yeah. It's very beautiful because cacao is this plant of harmony, and is what we inspire us to create harmonious recipes that also have a function for our health. Or for instance, we have a chocolate bar that has lavender, and cacao has also this faculty, like same as, again, is this plant of receptivity that allows the gut to better absorb lavender, for instance, or to better absorb reishi that comes as well from the same agroforestry system growing next to the cacao, or the cardamom properties. So it helps us to absorb the properties of all of these other varieties or plants. Cardamomo, for instance, we also trade with cardamomo, and cardamomo is a discovery for me as well. It's a very recent discovery that has this faculty to help with gut issues such as acidity. So to take, instead of an antacid after eating and biting from the pharmacy, why not to take a cardamom seed or 2 cardamom seeds? It has the same effect. So it's again finding the natural pharmacy in nature. Reishi is also an amazing medicinal mushroom that grows there in the jungle. And despite from this industrial mindset of going to exploit the jungle, we do it in a way in which we are respectful with the amount of reishi there. We are always monitoring how much is there, how much we can take, and how much we're also giving to these plantations for it to keep flourishing. So it's another way of relating as well to nature when it comes to taking to borrowing its benefits. We also work with pataste, which is exotic fruit that not many people know, but it used to be used a lot in pre-Hispanic cuisine. It's very much like an almond. It's so delicious. It also has its own properties. Like every variety we're touching on, we could just open a whole conversation. Pataste is the fruit of the jaguar, is how they used to call it. And we use it as an almond. So instead of getting almonds from outside, we use what is there in the agroforestry system to make it rich in texture as well. So we like to play with textures, with flavors, innovating, having this experience for the palate. That's also part of our passions, this joy of being alive and enjoying nature in this way of to be delightful with it.
So many synchronicities, right? It's so beautiful. Well, I feel like we could talk about all of those additional ingredients you went into like on a whole other podcast. So let's not deep dive any further there. I think if people are interested in finding out more, they should connect with you guys. And our next chapter, I want to talk more about just the sort of One Health perspective, which we've touched on briefly here and there in our 2 conversations, but I know that you can dive so much deeper, and I'm looking forward to it. So we'll leave it there for now. Hey there, one last thing I wanted to share with you. If you're enjoying this podcast, it would mean so much to me if you could rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. It really does help us grow the show. And this being so important to me to get this message out to more women to help them optimize their wellness and ultimately their lives. This is my mission, and I would greatly appreciate it if you could support the podcast by rating and reviewing. Thanks in advance. Have a good one.